spilled a very, very full glass of water everywhere right into the clothes. And I mean like everywhere. Like my socks are soaked, the table is soaked, I don't know how I did that. My keyboard is soaked, or at least it was. Oh man. Uh For folks on the YouTube, I've had some technical difficulties the last couple days, and I hope that I fixed it. If what I did today didn't fix it, then I need to get bigger help from people who know more than me. Good so far. Okay, great. I'm an associate member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA SIPC. All of my trades are placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. My position is the same, disclosure is the same, except I kept a little bit of the AGQ. I had GLD and GDX during the day today, short as well. I'm out of both of those. I ended up kind of break even on gold. I made a little bit on GDX. AGQ, I'm like flat, maybe down small in. SLV, I'm definitely down in though, but that's because I had it overnight. And because it's monstrously, monstrously strong. I actually just got filled on the bid right now. What do you know? What do you say? I wouldn't be surprised if they sell this down here after hours. I know, like, I think it was Jim or someone in the VTF was talking about. So I'm not a commodities trader, really, right? I very rarely ever trade commodities. But when something gets super in play, I trade it. Look at this, SLV with its highest volume in this entire up move today. So when something is super, super in play, I will end up trading it, almost no matter what it is, because I'm a trader, and that's kind of what I do. But it's interesting to me that if the futures supposedly control how the price of silver moves, why does the movement get so quiet as soon as 4 p.m. comes around? I wouldn't necessarily think it would be that way. I almost kind of think that it's actually in some ways the ETFs that control everything more, even more so than the futures. And it's I won't be surprised to see this silver like really kind of roll down here, actually exactly like it's doing once the market closed. It was kind of almost even my expectation. Just this, I felt like the underlying bid in this SLV was in the SLV ETF, and that was massively holding up some huge underlying bid buyer in this thing, buying it up into every downtick. Every downtick, this thing would just get bought up, and here it goes. We're rolling already here a little bit, and it's 416. Okay. Anyway, I am getting off track from how we usually roll. So let's do it here. It doesn't feel like a down. What a weird trading session. This market is just so crazy. There are some things that were so strong today. And I just covered my AGQ. I just got down to where my bid was that I wanted to get out at. Green in that. Anyway. I almost can't believe the market's down. Some of the things I was looking at were so strong today, and other things I guess were really weak. Once again, I mean, we'll look at this. Look at the Qs versus the IWM. It's the same story here. So let's do our recap, right? SPYs are down 0.5%. Qs are down a full percentage point. IWM's up 0.6. There you go. RSP's up 0.5%. Is today a strong day or a weak day? Well, are you looking at Mag 7 or are you looking at small caps and meme stocks and rare earth stocks and quantum names? Depending on what your focus is as a trader, you could very easily have thought that today was a very strong day or a very weak day. And that, I think sums it up pretty perfectly. We still have huge dispersion. And it's interesting because on the daily chart, the index with moderate upside extension that I have felt needs some time or price correction is the IWM. It actually is the IWM. Yet the IWM, again, straight up positive today, and the Qs, like, I guess they tailed up off their low because we were so strong into the close. And by the way, I retyped it into the VTF at like 3:30 after Pat posted it. That QQQ 0 DTE call buyer in the close. When we see that come in, that has such a high hit rate. You almost look at it and you go, what is this person doing with 30 minutes or less left in the market buying calls that are over $1 out of the money? That has such a high hit rate when we see that come in that I had to retype it into the VTF, and then we completely ripped into the close, and that guy probably made a lot of money on that position. So we see that happen all the time. So Qs at the end of the day here, they close below 620. They're still above 610. 610 is the major support level that I'm looking at. And they have a little bit of a downside tail because we rallied here in the last hour. And that QQQ call buyer got paid. So good for him. And SPYs also with a downside tail. So, I mean, is this the pivot low just for continuation? Just a little bit of a shakeout day today? It certainly could be. It's kind of hard to say. But overall, if you ask me, the technicals on the SPYs are still bullish. The technicals on the IWM are still bullish. The technicals on the Qs are maybe neutral here. Back above 620. If we could have gotten a close above 620, I would say that they're bullish too. So we're bullish, neutral as far as the indexes go. And it just felt like a crazy day today. But we are still fully intact. And the market's still telling you that you're better off being long than short. The market's still telling you that you're best off looking for dips to buy into the pullbacks. And honestly, today was tricky. I thought today was very tricky, but today was not an exception. As far as individual stocks go or names that I focused on, for me it was semiconductors and it was metals. It's really my focus right now. The semiconductors with the shooting star candle yesterday and then opening below 390 in SMH today. I liked the idea of pushing downside. I thought that this would be able to push for more than the ADMA on the daily chart. And we also said in the morning meeting, by the way, that if we lose the semiconductors a little bit, that could be the thing that causes the Qs to fail. But now here we are at the end of the day, and the SMH didn't really push too much through that ADMA on the daily chart and tail right back up. So now you got a downside tail in the SMH that looks like a potential pivot low for trend continuation. In the same vein that the SPYs, I just said, could be just a pivot low for continuation higher. The Qs are still a little bit more concerning. So going forward with the semiconductors, I am still short, but I was able to reduce a lot of size today into the down move. Yesterday's high and today's low is going to be really important for the semis. And same deal, I kind of feel like in some ways the way that the semis go will be the way that the Qs go, which will be the way that the SPYs go, not necessarily the IWM. So today's low, because you got a little downside tail there, is going to be really important for the SPYs and the Qs as well. So that is semis, which are a big focus for me. And then it was just these metals. It's funny. I've been so much more aggressive in silver, and sometimes I'm taking gold as almost like a secondary trade. I did that yesterday. I did that today. I think I did that on a couple other days last week. And it's been so much easier to make money in this thing, honestly. Like, I execute my gold trades. I make a little bit of money because the size isn't huge on them, but I've been able to make money in it almost every day. Whereas SLV, overall, I've been pretty happy and proud on how I've done with this SLV back down in this area. I'm definitely starting to get hurt a little bit on the swing trade, even though I was very sized, I think, very appropriately. These last couple of days, really today on the swing trade was the first day that I kind of was really getting hurt on this SLV because my sizing is now a little bit bigger, and we had a pretty big gap up this morning. But it's been so much harder money, I feel like, to make money on the silver trade than it has been on the gold trade. And as far as silver goes, we talked about it pre-market. I was like, guys, if we shoot straight down through 83 right off the open, that could be the short signal. And again, my brain is on stocks because that's what I trade. I trade stocks. But I've seen this pattern in stocks many times when you get that really big gap up, and then the second the market opens, they start selling that thing back down, especially in a parabolic move, and you need to be very quick to short it. So with that thought process in mind and where we were set to open, I was like, guys, if we can trade through 83 and SLV right off the open, I think you short versus the high. So I don't know if anybody caught that. We talked about it in the morning meeting today. It didn't work nearly as well as I would have liked it to. If you manage the position well, there's no reason why you should have lost money in it. But it was almost right away, like, fine. First red bar came in, second red bar came in. I'll be honest, I didn't even think that those two bars were big enough. I thought we should have sold harder and faster on those first two bars. And then we just started going sideways. We couldn't even price correct quickly down to the ADMA. Like, I really wanted to see a hard, fast price correction down to the ADMA. Buyers come in, try to defend it. Maybe you get a little wimpy bounce off of it. Then you break through that ADMA, get the 15-minute correction, kind of rinse and repeat. Next thing you know, it's a gap fill. Once you get the gap fill, they trade this thing down further. And I know Pat knows what I'm talking about when you get sometimes that parabolic move that just followed by like one individual nasty, gigantic red Maribozu candle when the move is kind of done. That's what I really wanted to see today. And that's the steps in which it should have taken place. But honestly, like I just said, I thought that these first two sell bars, even though I still vouch for that execution 383, it just wasn't big enough. It wasn't fast enough. And then we started going sideways here, and I was like, oh my gosh, the buyers are still here. And then with this 5-minute bar into the ADMA, it was like, okay, we're breaking lows. We're into the ADMA. Let's see. Maybe we can push. And even on this 10:05 candle, I remember they tried to push into that ADMA again a little bit. I was like, okay. And then I feel like a headline came out here at 10:10. This was the second trading session in a row, by the way, where we had a lot of tape bombs. Just like headlines hitting, Trump talking, Iran, Venezuela, Greenland, everything just being pretty crazy geopolitically. And I don't remember what it was, but I feel like something came out at this time. Look at the volume on that bar off that ADMA on the 5. And once that happened, I was like, man, this is not looking good. Maybe a lower high. Push into the ADMA. It's 10:30. Can we get a 15-minute time correction because of the time of day? And the answer to that was no. We just held up too well all day. Even in this actual down move, like, it was a grind down. I don't want to see a grind down in this thing. I want to see like a failure. Like longs running to the exits to protect their profits. Shorts who are smarter than me, who short right at the right time on the way down, piling in on the downside with ferocity. And, grind down, higher volume candle here on this dip gets immediately bought back. Next thing you know, we're making new highs. And that's it. So it's like if you shorted through 83 this morning versus highs, you may have kept it until this pivot. You may have been able to keep it for most of the day. But eventually, it became very difficult to keep as we started to break up to new intraday highs. And then we basically closed on highs, which is tough. The best trades in SLV, I know Brant has talked about this a couple times, the best trades in SLV have kind of been when it's closed at highs. And it more or less did that again today. I don't know if that's going to be that way or not. The way we're trading with the silver, I said it back here, I think on my afternoon meeting here on January 7th when I got the pullback kind of to the ADMA on the daily chart, but we closed strong. Or maybe it was the next day. The way that this silver has been trading, it was exactly like I said here. I could have seen this thing crash right down to 60, or I could see this thing make a parabolic leg to 90 or even $100. The latter of those things, and if you guys remember, I thought it was like a 50-50. So that's why I've been so aggressive and quickly booking profit aggressively into these down moves and then having smaller size initially into the up moves. And only when we get really extended, like on the 26th, on the 6th, and really again starting yesterday, do I get larger amounts of size going on in this trade. And again, the two times that's worked best, we closed on highs and you had to keep the risk overnight, and then you got paid for getting a bad night's sleep. And today maybe is the same way, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see, you could see today repeat tomorrow. You could see today repeat for the next 2 days. It's not impossible. I would be very surprised if we saw today repeat for more than 2 additional days. We would be so parabolic blow off top at that point that you guys remember the headlines when gold was giving the parabolic move that we successfully shorted here, where all of a sudden, like at the very top, they were saying like people in India, and if you know anything about Indian culture, I don't know a ton about Indian culture, but I know that like silver and gold jewelry is like I think particularly gold jewelry is a very big thing. I heard that people were like running to sell their gold in India. Those were the headlines that were starting to come out into this like final peak. I think if you get another day or two in silver like that, it's going to be the same thing. One of the Ryan, I don't know if Ryan is here. He posted some really good stuff, a research report in the virtual trading floor very early this morning that I read, and it was a really solid one. And basically, it seems like there are short-term supply constraints right now in silver that are really helping to boost this move higher. Simple supply and demand will tell you that when the price goes higher, that there will be more supply, and that additional supply, if it eventually outweighs demand at a certain price, it's when price goes down, or if it even equals demand, that's when price can begin to go sideways. A parabolic move is an interesting phenomenon because what a parabolic move means by definition is the greater the price, the greater the demand. So what is helping, based on a lot of the research that I've read, to further create this move is that the demand is obviously there. You can see it in the chart, and people get the animal spirits and they go crazy, and that's what creates parabolic moves. But the extra supply is not running in online. And I read several things about it. China is limiting their silver exports. The like silver scrap melting or whatever there's very limited plants for that. Apparently, there's only 2 in the entire United States, based on one research report that I read. So you're not getting like the scrap metal coming online. The other ones are in the EU, and I guess in the EU, the other silver melting whatever. Again, not my area of expertise. Just trying to regurgitate the research that I read. Are in the EU, but in the EU, nat gas prices are high. In the US, nat gas prices are low, but we don't have the factories. In the EU, nat gas prices are high. They have the factories, but if the inputs are too expensive, then they're not going to be melting the silver down there either. And then we saw another headline come out from the US Treasury today about them like not selling the silver coins or something like that right now. And I don't remember the exact context of the language that's in there. So you have a bit of a supply problem. That will work itself out over time, but it's helping to breed this move. And again, while I think genuinely that we are getting close here, and maybe this is even it, like I wouldn't be 100% surprised, like I was already saying earlier, silver closes on highs today. You get a gap down tomorrow that is to below yesterday's low. That could be the end of the move. I also could see us repeating today 1 or 2 more times and just really look at this parabolic move when you pull it out. This is the definition of a parabolic move. But this could add another day to it. It could add another 2 days to it. Either way, though, I think we're close. I don't think that we could get much more than another day or 2 of similar price action on the upside before this falls in on itself. The more dangerous thing would actually be if things really started moving sideways here, which personally, with the way I'm strategized and the way that I'm trading silver, I'll take that. I'll take that all day. But that would actually be, in some ways, the worst thing, because that would mean that you're still not getting that extra supply, but people aren't paying up in the same way briefly, and then you take out some of the overhead supplies, some of the paper sellers, and then you can actually continue higher on like the break higher of a bull flag. So just a couple potential options on how this silver might work out from here. I'm sticking with the trade. Today was a little bit uncomfortable for me for the first time since really this day. The 26th, I was a little bit uncomfortable. Got super rewarded for it on the Monday, the 29th, and then today I'm a little bit uncomfortable again here. But it is what it is. It's kind of just how trading and game planning and all that fun stuff works sometimes. I think that's all I got. I mean, that's really my big focus. Like, I've got some other smaller positions on that are acting as hedges to some degree, but it's really been very much about the semiconductors and about the metal trade for me. Sorry, give me one quick second here. Okay. Ryan giving us the commentary there. Thank you for that, Ryan. What do you guys got for me? I'm seeing a question from Robert. You said yesterday traders should recognize trades between starting full position with full risk size at once, full entry, versus starting a feeler and kind of massaging the trade, adding more into the position, etc. How do you differentiate which trade to take in any situation, considering starting a completely new position? Sure. I'm going to say very generally speaking, in momentum trades, that's typically when you're going to want to be taking the vast majority of your sizing all at once. You're buying like a breakout as an example. That's a momentum trade. That's when you want to take all your sizing at once, because when you're putting on a momentum trade, you're, by definition, what a momentum trade means is that you are expecting to be right and be right now, and follow through with the fast money. Other trades, you know, if you're building in on a consolidation because you expect that it's going to break out, like I was doing in RKT somewhat recently, or building in counter trend on something. When you're building in counter trend on something, it can go both ways. You can either build in and massage the position, or you can wait for the signal and take all your sizing at once. You know, for example, silver today, if you shorted through 83, that would be a time when you just take all the size all at once. Short through 83, stops at the high 83.39, and trade works or it doesn't, because you're looking for momentum failure from the gap to trade lower. If you were shorting silver like yesterday maybe, or kind of on the way up, or anything that, you know, you're still shorting it kind of on the way up or buying it on the way down, that's going to be much more of a build-in process. So again, the bottom line is momentum. I need to be right. I need to be right now. Full size. Otherwise, might be more of a build-in process. Thanks for the question, Robert. Jim, definitely going to pay attention to the futures open at 6. Give us a couple hours to position if that's the move. From Matt, volume continues to expand too. Yeah, the silver volume maximizing this SLV is also notable. But again, this signals to me also that we're close. But you could have another 5 to 10% update tomorrow with even bigger volume, right? Like that's how like volume capitulation builds. So is today the maximized volume and then that's it? Or do we get another big day and another big day and another big day? Like that happens into these moves. So this is something I definitely am noting. Definitely noting. But we need to break today's low tomorrow for this volume to signal that it's a little bit more of a capitulation trade. Otherwise, you know, if we're up again tomorrow, don't be surprised if we do even more volume tomorrow than we did today. I actually thought that silver, despite all the volume today, this SLV felt orderly to me. And that was the problem to some degree. I remember even on the break higher here, and then we got this pullback when it got above 84. I was chatting with Tate in the VTF. I was like, man, we got above 84 and we ran into a lot of supply, and now we sold down here. It's actually what I don't want to see. And I'm short, right? You would think I want it to go down. I do. But I want the setup to be there to actually break this thing. And sometimes that means you have to go up in order to go down. And on this break at 84, I really want to actually see this thing accelerate up and volume accelerate higher and then fail down off of extension on a smaller time frame. And we didn't get that. So, you know, we'll see how, again, we'll see how we trade tomorrow, and we'll see where we're trading. We'll see what the volume looks like. From Michael, if you didn't chat about it until getting to the Q&A part, share thoughts on the crypto trade. MSTR seemed to be lagging IBIT after 10. Crypto technicals in general looking much better since the October downtrend. Yeah, I like crypto a lot right now. I'm not involved in it because I just have too much on my plate. I wish I was, but we first called out for a long in Bitcoin here on the 2nd. I was disappointed with how it traded on the 6th. I was concerned that it was pulling back too much on the 8th, but it still managed to close above the 50-51 area. If this thing got below 50, I kept saying it over and over again, it would be broken. It didn't, but it was also relatively weak. Like a lot of other meme type stocks were being stronger than that, and it's usually what crypto moves with. And then yesterday, again, we were looking at this thing and saying, all right, we got the gap back above 52. This could be like a breakout for continuation up now. And that was a great call out yesterday. So I hope some of you guys caught that. And then today we got the big break of the 53.76 to 54 resistance that we were looking for. That's kind of been resistance from December in the beginning of January. I like this trade a lot. I like, if you had Jim's idea from the morning meeting today of like a pairs trade, long crypto, short silver, that would have been a great trade today. Yeah, you're taking probably a little bit of pain maybe in silver still today, but you're getting paid more than that on the long on the crypto side right now than you were probably losing on the short on the silver side, depending on the specifics of your sizing and execution. So I like crypto here. I think that a lot of this stuff can still have legs. It feels like the animal spirits are back alive all of a sudden. Again, you can see that we talked about this already with the IWM. You can look at how like RGTI started waking up into the close. What did QBTS do? Yeah, QBTS had a really strong day today. Obviously, there's some news around this a little bit, but rare earth stuff, UAMY, USAR, UMAC, MP, UUU, all really big days today to the upside. So the animal spirits are alive, and crypto should be able to take advantage of that. MSTR is super disappointing. Super disappointing that this could be this week with an upside tail with that degree of volume given what Bitcoin did today. I don't know what to attribute that to. I wish I had more feedback for you on the why behind that. I would think that these would be more highly correlated. How do they close on a percentage basis? MSTR is 3.4% and IBIT is 3.4%. It shouldn't be that way. If IBIT's up 3.4% today, MSTR should be up 5%. And I don't know what the deal is with this upside tail here. How did Ethereum and BMNR do? Ethereum had a big day. And BNMR also a little bit of an upside tail there. So let me look at the percentages. Ethereum's up 5.5. BMNR is only up 4.2. That's not great on those names. It's a little disappointing because I could definitely see wanting to be long MSTR and BMNR right now instead of or alongside of the actual coins themselves. From Ethan, in reference to Pat's note, could you explain skew or volatility skew shown on the graphs, like on page 13? Page 13. Page 13. Yeah, so this is Charlie McElligot's note. This stuff definitely gets pretty complex. Equities, index, and thematic. Legacy Mag 7 and or recent cyclical value sensitive Russell skew and at the money implied vol low cares which that low cares is a reference to somewhere earlier in the note that I think was referencing people not being overly concerned about this. So then what do we have here? This is SPX skew and volatility. So this is the SPX 3-month skew, and this is the 3-month at the money vol. And then this is basically the same with Mag 7, skew and vol, and this is on the IWM skew and vol. So skew is, I believe, is just measuring in this circumstance the difference between calls and puts that are going off. So if you see this in extreme territory, it can be a signal. And I think what Charlie was referencing in this note more specifically is, oops, sorry, I got filled on a trade and then we lost our chart, is that you want to be seeing more downside skew coming in, meaning like a lot of put buyers that are coming in for insurance purposes, because it's actually that skew um, that is one of like the when crash themes. So, and again, not really my area of expertise, but the ways that you can be looking at skew are like calls versus puts, but then you can also be looking at call skew versus put skew, like call skew in and of itself and put skew in and of itself, which basically would mean that you have like at the money versus out of the money calls and or puts that are going off. And when you see like out of like a large increase in, let's say, out of the money puts versus in the money puts, that would be an increase in skew. And what that does is into a down move, it's fuel on the fire from like a gamma perspective if a down move actually were to occur. So it's one of the things that you pay attention to in more extreme kind of market environments. So like, and again, if anybody has the Charlie McElligott like when crash thing saved and you want to just repost it in here, because one of the 4 items in there is about skew. It's about people who become very long the market getting downside protection by buying out of the money puts. And when you start to buy a lot of out of the money puts, that will impact option skew and it'll impact put skew specifically, and you can see that in those charts. And again, why you want to pay attention to that is because it kind of becomes fuel to the fire into the down move. It can help it like really quickly build on itself. I see Pat here is giving me a definition to make my life easier, so let me read that out loud and see what he has to say. VIX skew refers to the pattern of different implied volatilities across various strike prices for options in the S&P 500, showing how market fear for sharp downturns, high put implied vol, differs from volatility around the current price, VIX, or expected upside moves. A high skew, high put call prices signals increased demand for downside protection, which is tail risk, while low skew suggests calmer expectations, revealing market sentiment beyond just overall volatility. That's kind of what I was trying to get across. Pat's words might be a little bit more concise. If you're reading what Pat says and you don't understand what that means, the best thing that I would suggest, because you'll probably get a better, more concise answer than I'll be able to give with all my words, would be just to take what Pat put and put it in your AI and ask AI to explain it, and then just dive in with more and more questions after that, and then you'll really begin to kind of understand it. But what Pat wrote there is what I was attempting to describe more or less. Look, I can kind of picture it's like term structure, but instead of mapping implied volatility against time, it's mapping strikes within one expiration. Yeah, that's a good way to think about it also. I like that too. So same thing. If you need more beyond that, I would say just take AI and dive in. That's how I've learned this stuff predominantly. And then we've got, we should really take that, Greg, and put it into the VTF somehow. Pat, there's a way to do that, right? Isn't there like a files thing that I never look at here? Yeah, I see there is. Images. Oh, it's in there already? Well, that's great to know. Where? We should just turn that into like the background. You know how when I'm not sharing a screen, they have that like silly thing that like tells you what to expect? Forget that. Let's just have this in there. It's great. There's a great book about all option terms I'm currently reading that Robert here has posted. Trading Volatility, Correlation, Term Structure, and Skew. Beautiful. I love it. I haven't read that one, but appreciate the suggestion there, Robert. All right, scrolling back up into the VTF. Ethan, I did my best for you. I hope that helped. From Kevin. How do you deal with a limit down open in your trading, particularly when the market is down at support and you want to add or buy more? Today I came in limit down at around negative 10%. My positions bounced back strong, got out of it, and then I initiated some of the new longs, all of which are now in the money. And I closed up the day up 10%. Now I'm swinging into some decent momentum. How should I think about the process to avoid recklessness but stay calm and ready for significant opportunities? Since the market doesn't care about your P&L and won't wait for you. Sure. So my limit down or maximum loss is based on in my mind anyway, like my personal one is based on intraday P&L. If I have a situation, which happens sometimes, where my swing positions gap against me to the point where I'm down what would typically be my maximum loss on the day before my day is even started, that kind of doesn't count for me as my maximum loss. I continue to trade that. So, let's say that your maximum loss is $500 and you wake up one morning and you're down $500. I'm probably giving myself to like 800 or 1,000 on that day. Hopefully, if you've done a good job with your swings, you're just giving back open P&L anyway. So you're not really down that amount. It's just the mark-to-market accounting that's showing you down that amount. Otherwise, if you are down that much because you didn't hold your swings into a win-win situation and you're just down that amount, I still think you got to give yourself a little bit of space in order to be able to properly manage them into gap situations. So I'll give myself a new number a little bit beyond, like I'm already down that amount. It just is what it is. I'll give myself a little bit of additional room beyond that in order to be able to manage my positions properly. But now it's 9:45, 10 a.m. I had some new trade executions. I'm trying to manage those positions, and now I'm at the new max loss for the day. That's when I'm done. Hope that helps. From Vincent, can you go over the queue setup today and at the end of the day with the call buyer? Sure. So the queue setup for today, I didn't have strong conviction on the queues this morning because the big picture is daily, but I thought based on the semiconductors we could sell off in the whole market because I thought that the semiconductors were going to sell down. If the semis would sell down, even though the market's bullish, I thought that the Qs would probably sell down a little bit as well. So we opened up with a large gap down this morning. So the first thing I always want to see is kind of how that gap gets handled. And they tried to buy us up. They got us almost to the ADMA, and then they immediately sold us down hard and broke the low. And now the ADMA caught up to this pivot high. So now I'm looking at a market that's small time frame bearish. So I think that this was the signal here that you're not going to be getting like that early up move gap fill similar to what we got 2 trading sessions ago. I think that was on Friday of last week with the Jerome Powell stuff. When we gapped down, we bought it all the way back up. By the time this opening low broke, you knew you're not getting a repeat of that. So that was that, and that was the big focus I think for earlier. Maybe there was a cute long call out off like this pivot into the extension at 10 a.m. I really don't remember. But basically, into the close, I could scroll up and find it, or if someone can beat me to it, that'd be great too. I'm looking somewhere around 3:30. There it is, 3:24. I found it already. Copy and paste it right here. Pat posted into the VTF at 3:24. Where were the Qs trading at 3:24? Somewhere like 117 and change. 617 and change. Under 618. And someone posted these 618 calls on $84,000. $84,000 worth of calls were purchased with the 618 strike that expire today. So they were 0 DTE calls. They weren't that out of the money now that I look at this. I actually thought they were 619 in hindsight in my mind. They were only 618, but they were still out of the money. I feel like we've seen this occasionally, not too often, but when you get like a big 0 DTE and I feel like it's usually in the Qs, index option that goes off in like with like 30 minutes left to go. It's like someone that I don't want to say they know something, but they have a good feel on maybe what the MOCs are gonna do, or I almost feel like this is a really smart money player who has quantitative information that might be based on like the rebalancing into the close, or like maybe even the leveraged ETF rebalance impulse and how that's going to impact the market over the course of the last 30 minutes. And then they put on that large out of the money option play that has very little time left on it, and they get paid. This wasn't that out of the money. Sometimes we see it like a couple dollars out of the money and they get paid. Not with a 100% success rate. I know, because there's been an occasion or two where I've actually followed on the trade. I thought about doing it on this one too. Followed on the trade, and it didn't work. Semiconductors are down ticking pretty hard right now. Semiconductors are down ticking pretty hard right now. Market's down ticking pretty hard right now. Nothing obvious news-wise. It's pretty big tick. There we go. In the near future, Trump may impose broader tariffs on imports of semiconductors and their derivative products. This guy don't stop recently. Trump also imposed a 25% tariff on certain advanced computing chips such as NVIDIA H200 and AMD whatever. Meanwhile, silver is back up now. U.S. chip tariff will not apply to chips imported for U.S. technology supply. White House, U.S. chip tariff will not apply to chips imported to strengthen domestic chip production. Reports of possible explosion in the Iranian capital of Tehran. Oh, that's what's moving us. Reports of possible explosions in Tehran. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Just basically was talking about, again, just like that 0 DTE option play when we see come in the last 30 minutes or so of the day. Yeah, oil with a really big uptick there. So I think I covered your question. I hope that helps. And we want to pay attention to option flow too. You know, a lot of times that's smart money, and repeat flow can like be a self-fulfilling prophecy sometimes. Pentagon pizza. Now the Qs are bouncing back a little bit. All right, scrolling back up in the VTF. What else did I miss? Dennis saying I think I think chances we see the top intraday is on the lower end, but not impossible. But it gaps almost on a daily basis. Yep, and that's because they trade all night. From Jackie, could the reason BMNR and MSTR didn't close as well today be because the market was weak, or would you expect them to still perform well with BTC and ETH moves today? Great thought process. I don't follow those names that strong to be able to give you a great answer on that, because I think that they're in some of the indexes, at least MSTR is. So it could be that. But the indexes closed strong, and MSTR closed weak, right? Yeah, this thing couldn't really bounce when the indexes bounced. So there was definitely a relative weakness there to the market into the close, and also relative weakness, obviously, to how crypto traded. So I'm still pretty unsure on that one. What else? Thank you, Robert. Vixie Bull, do we have a list of reading material that you can push to people as need? Is that in the file? Yeah, okay. Asked and answered. That headline on Iran might have also helped silver bounce back here again also after it was selling down immediately after hours. Bunch of analyst initiations at RBC came out. Thank you, Jim. I have not looked at the silver gold ration chart, but I've heard people talk about it, so I feel like in my brain I kind of know what's going on, but I haven't actually seen the chart myself. '98 to 2010, it traded at 50 a lot. When it trades at 50, you usually see that be a level. Okay. Thanks, Rock. Good info. Rock's still here. I love it. Also, the years after the move, it seems we had economic expansion. Okay. Oh, here it is. Gold over silver down into 50. Interesting. Thank you for that. Thanks, guys. Good stuff. Yeah, that's the thing. That thing is moving here. Till that mean reverts. So we'll see if 50 acts as a level or not. Which also just means that maybe gold catches a bid, right? Oh, man. All right. I got no one in the YouTube. Everybody must have bailed on me after I had technical difficulties the last 2 days, except for Brad Newsom. What's up, Brad Newsom? Got through everything. The X post has now been removed and the initial reports of possible explosions in Tehran. Okay. So that might be false news. All right. I'm going to end it there. I think I got through all the questions. It's 5 o'clock on the dot. Have a great night, everybody.